Hi there, it's Ian McTavish, and this is our Slope in Scratch activity. So first off, we're going to go to the Scratch website, scratch.mit.edu. And when you get to the website, we're going to start creating. Now you can obviously sign in, and you're always encouraged to sign in so that you can record your progress. Now I just closed the tutorial there, but the tutorial is it's a little video tutorial, and it's great to learn the basics of Scratch. And I'm going to quickly go through some things. First off, whenever you're using a programming environment, look at all the different options and just explore. We're going to start down on the bottom left here. This button allows us to add some different extensions. And we're going to use the pen extension. What we're going to do is we're going to create a grid, and we're going to draw a line, and we're going to explore the rise and run with our line. So we've added the pen extension, and in the bottom right corner, this is where we can choose our background. There's a lot of different backgrounds, so we're just going to type in a grid, G-R-I-D, and there's an XY grid. That's the one we're going to pick. So you can see over here on our screen, we've got our grid, and so we've got all the different activities there. So we have our grid, and what we're going to do is have a look at this screen, and it shows that X is starting at -240, and it goes to X at 240. So that's our grid. So we're going to draw a line going from that far end to the other end. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at the rise and the run. So the slope of the line, how the rise is how far up it goes, and the run is how far it goes across. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that our sprite is selected. And the sprites are a way that a lot of video games are designed. They have sprites for the different players and the game pieces and things. And if you take computer science in grade 10 or 11 or 12, you can hopefully get a chance to do some of that. So here's the events, and we're going to start with this event. So this is when the little green flag is clicked, so when it starts. So we're going to start with the event, and we're going to create a variable. So down on the left are the variables, and it's really useful to explore these. And we are going to make a variable, and we're going to call it rise. So we're going to small letters, just the word rise. And really important when you're creating variables to have names that are really clear. So we've got rise. We're going to add a couple more variables here. One for run and one for X. And I just was saying about using names that are very self-explanatory. Well, when we're doing graphing like this, there's the X and Y coordinates, so X does actually make sense for that particular variable. Now, right off the bat, we want to set our variable. This is where we declare our variable, so it's going to actually put space in memory for it to be able to use it, and now we're going to actually set a value in the program for this. So we're going to set X, and X is going to be -240. So that was the value of the left-hand side of the screen. And we're also going to set the rise, so we're going to drag another one over, set the rise, and we're going to set the rise to 2. And one more, set the run, and we're going to set it to 1. So the rise, basically it's going to go up 2 points every time it runs 1 point. So we're going to see what that looks like in a few moments. Now, with our program, we're going to start with our pen tool. And with our pen tool, we're just going to click erase all. So that way, if we've run this a few times, we're going to get a clean screen every single time. And pen up, so that way we can get into position at the beginning and not worry about drawing lines where we don't want them. So now we're going to set up our motion, And we are going to go to 0, 0 is what the default is, but what we're going to do is we're going to go into the variables and we're going to drag x into there. So remember, x we set to negative 240, so it's going to go to negative 240. And the next thing is that we are going to do some math for our y value. So in the operators, there's the multiplying. It looks like an asterisk. So we're going to drag that in, and that allows us to multiply two numbers. But we're going to get even more complicated because we're going to add some dividing in there. So we're going to toss that dividing into that first square. And if you run into a problem, so if you make a mistake, you can just drag it out and drag it back in and just get comfortable with it. So now we've got to divide. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our variables, and we're going to take our rise and drop that in there. And then we're going to drag the run. So we're going to take the rise and divide it by the run. And what we're going to do is we are then going to multiply that by x. So x starts at negative 240. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 2 divided by 1. So that's going to be 2 times negative 240. So that's going to give us a number way off the screen because our y value only goes down to negative 180. So what we're going to do is, so that will position our little cat character there. And what we're going to do is add the pen tool, and we're going to put the pen down. So as this character moves across the screen, it's going to draw a line so we can see where it's going. Now we're going to add a control, and what we're going to do is we're going to repeat until. So there's different repeat blocks. So there's repeat a number of times, so that's a counting block if you know the specific number of times, or repeat until a certain situation is met. And that's what we're going to do. If you learn other programming languages, you might see do while loops. So do this while this situation is true, while this condition is true, and that's what you can pay attention to. So we're going to look, what we're going to do is we're going to use the greater than, and you'll always want to be very careful to look at the little alligator symbol. So the big side is going to be as long as this number is bigger. So repeat until this number is bigger, and we're going to change, we're going to look for the x value, and that is in the variables. So while repeat until x is greater than 240. And that means that this is going to run until the cat goes from this side of the screen to the other side of the screen. So we've got that, and what we are going to do is we're going to add another one of these go-to blocks. So go to, and we're going to do the same thing that we did here. We're going to go to x, and the nice thing is I should, whoops, what I'm trying to do is I'm right-clicking on the green block here, and I'm choosing duplicate, so I don't have to re-drag it over. I can quickly add it, so that just saves me a little bit of time. So I'm going to go to that position, and then what's going to happen if I run this right now, it's going to run and nothing seems to be happening. And what's going on is you need to look at how the code is set. So when this is clicked, it sets my X, it sets rise, sets run, erases the pen marks, brings the pen up, goes to this position, puts the pen down, and then it repeats until X is greater than 240. And what it's going to do is it's going to move to this position. Well, it's going to be the same position. And the problem is that I'm not changing X. So this is called an infinite loop. It's just going to keep going and going and going. So I need to change my x value, and I'm just going to change it by 1. So let's run this, and now I'm still not running into any. Oops, I didn't change x. I was changing my variable and didn't change x. So now let's do it. And there we go. I can see the cats moving. All of this code is so far below my graph, so I can't see my line. But at this point, there we go. So I now have a program where I can see when my rise is 2 and my run is 1, what the slope is. So what if I change that? So if I change that, my rise, what happens? And you can start seeing the difference there. So when my slope, I'm still going up as x increases, my y increases, but not as steep a slope as before. So that is how to do slope with Scratch, and it's a really good way to use some repeat blocks and to use some variables, and we can see the visual effect of this, and that is our program.